Hey everyone, Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys a 2025 album review. And before we get into that, you might notice something is a bit different in the background. Um, Recently I moved into a new house. Moved in about almost a month ago. I pretty much have everything almost set up. I just been really hard, mostly because of work and stuff, and I just been also kind of lazy a bit. It's almost set up, but hopefully I'll do a room tour eventually. It's kind of weird. I'll explain later in a later video, but that's not what this video is about. Bring you guys a new 2025 album review, and I don't really do much album reviews really as much these days, but I decided I want to do two with them today. And the first one we're going to be talking about today is the new album from Shadow of Intent entitled Imperium Delirium, which is out now via independently. Now, Shadow of Intent, I don't really need to introduce these guys. I'm pretty sure some of you are aware of them. They're a deathcore band based out of Connecticut. These guys have been around since 2013, and in my opinion, I think Shadow of Intent are one of the best, newer deathcore bands up there. I put them up there with, Lorna Shore or Brand of Sacrifice and bands like that. And these guys are really great. They have, the deathcore, but more so I think nowadays, well, since probably going from their first album Primordial to overall the band's fifth album, and this follows up their previous album, which came out in 2022, called Elegy, which I thought was a really great album. But I feel like with this album, I feel like they definitely stepped it up, to the point where they have a lot more death metal than deathcore, to be honest. But they still have the core kind of sound that they're known for, with the blending of the symphonic elements. The production on this album is great. I feel like Shadow of Intent, with every album, their production and even the songwriting and stuff gets better and better with each album. Then the vocal work from Ben Dure. Ben, in my opinion, I think he's one of the best deathcore vocalists going right now, and probably, in my opinion, probably my favorite vocalist. I put him up there with Will Ramos or even Kyle Anderson. I think Ben's gutturals are just gotten more powerful, and even his highs are just insane. I just think his vocals performance on this album have really stepped up. The guitar work from Chris Wiseman. I feel like Chris comes up with some really sick riffs. I feel like the guitar work on here is more dynamic than ever before, with the tremolo picked with black metal-y kind of style, with the doom-laden riffage, just insane. And then, of course, the bass is pretty audible from Andrew Monis. I feel like the bass is pretty audible. It really cuts through well in the mix. And then drumming-wise, from my buddy Bryce Butler. Bryce's drumming on here is just amazing, and everything is just perfect. So without further ado, and I've rambled on for about 3.5 minutes almost, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is Prepare to Die. Now, this is the ideal way to start off this album, which is just 4 minutes of sonic bombardment that pretty much sets the whole mood and vibe for the album. It is just battle, and I feel like it's a great way to start off the album, great way to kick things off. And then we get to Flying the Black Flag. Now, this right here has the return of the quality symphonic deathcore that pretty much the band is known for since they did over a decade ago. And this is a really great song. I believe this is the first single release for this album. And this song reminds me a lot of something from their second album, Acclaimer, while having that production sound from the last album, Elegy. And I feel like this is a really good step in the right direction for them. Moving on to Infinity of Horrors. Now, there's grooves in here, blast beats, riffing, and it has a really great breakdown. And then Chris showcases his guitar work with over a sick guitar solo, paired with sort of Bryce's drumming that backing it in it, and I think it's just really amazing over it all. Moving on to Mechanical Chaos. I keep butchering the names of these song titles, but this song, I feel like Ben really has stepped up vocally on here. His highs, especially on most of the singles that we've heard before this album, are really great. I mean, not that they weren't sick before, but I feel like on these songs, it just takes it to like a whole new level. And it just really got me excited for this album. Then we get to They Murdered Sleep. Now, this is a very strong song, and it just sounds very massive. And I just love like the symphonics that add to the song. It just makes it, kind of gives it that kind of like epic kind of vibe to it. And then the guitar solo adds to the overall sickness as to the song that we've heard so far. The Facets of Propaganda. Now, this is an insane song, and mostly in like the vocal work. It just brings the insanity, but also has the melody and depth instrumentally. Musically and lyrically, I feel like this song is just intense. And then there's also a piano sort of bringing sort of like a bleak kind of like atmosphere, and just the overall tone of the guitar on this song and even on this album is just really sick. Moving on to Feeding the Meat Grinder. Now, this is one of the first songs I've heard from this album, and holy shit. Especially there's like the guitars that just come right in. It just gets really just up there, and it just gets lower and lower. It's just fucking fire. And this song actually features a guest appearance from Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse. And Corpse Grinder's part in there, it just really fits really well. I mean, Shadow of Intent has guest appearances from, of course, the late Trevor Sturnad, Phil Bozeman from Whitechapel, Alex Turble from Slarts Reveal, bands like that. So I feel like they definitely know how to fit like the special guests in their song. Then we get to Vehement Draconian Vengeance. Now this song is just sounds very thrash-like. Like, it just sounds like something from, like, Testament or shit like that. But also has that symphonic element to there. And it's just a heavy song. And then Beholding the Sickness of Civilization. Now, this has some really it roars just anger. And just like that chord progressions and the guitars is just amazing. And it's just really great. And then we get to Apocalypse Canvas. This song right here is an instrumental song. Now, from what we heard so far, it's just this typical Shadow of Intent stuff. But here, I feel like it's kind of different than what we've heard so far. And it also has a lot of like prog elements that are sprinkled in there. And it has like a lot of orchestral palettes, and it's just a really great song. I feel like this, in my opinion, is probably the standout song of Imperium Delirium. Then we get to No Matter the Cost. Now, this song is just relentless, especially from beginning to end, like with the verses and then the instrument. Now, this song, I feel like would go hit great live. It could just inside a great heavy mosh pit. And now we close things out with the title track, Imperium Delirium. Now, I feel like this pretty much showcases everything that we've heard so far from the album, opening with a great kind of like epicness, and then closing with some really sick riffs that this band is known for. Now, overall, Imperium Delirium by Shadow of Intent, great album. So far, pretty much one of my favorite albums from 2025. So if I had to give this album a score, I'm going to give the new Shadow of Intent album a 9 out of 10. So that's my review of the new Shadow of Intent album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it. And thank you guys for watching as always. Keep it metal.